a Lone Ranger, Bass Reeves. Did you know that the Lone Ranger was actually based on a black man named Bass Reeves? All right, that's right, the Lone Ranger. So that's why they wore he wore a black mask to represent being a black man. He was a Lone Ranger, right? So Hell on the Border, 2019. It plays on Hulu. Is based on the Bass Reeves story. It's actually, I'm gonna have to say, it's a Bass Reeves story. It's a interpretation of Bass Reeves, right? So let me see if I can get this African name right. David Giassi.
Is that who plays?
Giassi plays Bass Reeves. David Giassi plays Bass Reeves. Vernon Davis is Columbus. Jerica Ricard is Augusta. It's an ensemble cast. I picked out the black characters, in it. You can go read the rest on IMDb if you want, right?
Okay.
So we're going to do some spoilers in this tonight, because this right here, this is not really, what I'm getting ready to read right now is not really a synopsis of the film. It's more of a review of the film, right? So let me see if I can read my chicken scratch real quick. A film which purports to tell the story of the actual Lone Ranger Bass Reeves. It takes too long, but it takes too long to get to the initiating event.
Too long.
We open with Reeves walking as the White Ranger is riding a horse. There is a gunfight sequence, which at best is amateurish in concept, execution, and edit. It is not believable. It is not believable. I will say it again. It is not believable, but it's supposed to show the skill of Bass Reeves. But certain things about gunfighting or guns in particular, this is the trailer playing now. That those certain things wouldn't happen, right? Leaves you asking, can someone else take another crack at the story? This is nothing like The Watchmen. See, if I hadn't saw The Watchmen, right? The Watchmen opens with a representation of Bass Reeves in his full Negritude. That's right. Negritude is a word. It doesn't have to do with knee. But it's Negritude. He's in his full Negritude, his full awareness of who he is, himself, and who he is to the people who he rangers for. This is not that. This is a Caucasian. I don't know who wrote it, but they wrote it like someone who was writing to be in, if they are American black or if they're black, they were writing to be in meritorious manumission. If they are Caucasian, they were writing a Caucasian's fantasy about how Bass Reeves was downtrodden in the beginning. And this film, seeing Bass Reeves walking, he's not even he's like a sidekick. He's like Tonto, except for at least Tonto had a horse.
Right.
Bass Reeves in this doesn't have a horse. He's
in the opening.
He's like walking alongside the ranger. He's not even a ranger. the ranger just uses him because he has certain abilities. He's like the magical Negro. That's a trope. That's a type of person. He's a magical Negro. He can do certain things that you wouldn't, that superhuman stuff that people wouldn't expect. That's what makes it partially trash. Now, I'm spoiled because I saw Bass Reeves in his full representation, and the people in the story are descendants of Bass Reeves within the mind of the child. And you have to watch The Watchmen to see that, right?
HBO.
That's right. And so seeing him there, this is a poor representation. If you were going to show Bass Reeves in downtrodden state, you would have to present Bass Reeves as his full imagined, full human being, and let that be in flashback, right? So automatically, this film does not work for that reason. And if it was an American black playing the role, they would say, can we do some rewriting on this? Because some of this doesn't make sense. Some of the fight sequences, they don't make sense, and it's not real. Because I grew up watching The Outlaw Josie Wales before I found out that it was written by a Confederate Indian. A Confederate Indian. But my favorite part, before I even knew anything about the North and the South and slavery, because our parents didn't talk about it, they afforded us a certain lifestyle, they didn't tell us about it. But once I transcended from junior high school into high school, into Polish high school, I got on my ride, right? Because I had been in a cocoon with my own black people. The problems that we had were black concern, but when you get to the Caucasians, it's a totally different thing, and it's a life and death matter. Right? So, seeing this, right? You have to see the person in full scope. So, watching The Watchmen, he's in full who he is. This is not. So an American black person would have said, let me have a rewrite because this doesn't make sense. This guy, he's just happy that he's acting, right? And acting to me isn't that,
like, he's detached,
great, right? So I mean, wait. So what did you think about it? Well, because we cut it off. To be honest, we cut it off. It just was unwatchable. When you see Bass Reeves in The Watchmen, if The Watchmen hadn't have come out, then maybe you would have sat through, okay, you understand it. But this was like a woe is me tale, and then this man is so bashful. We're gonna watch it afterwards to see if he ever arcs and how long it takes to arc. But the way it was set up, the initiating event didn't happen in the first 5 minutes, and then his dramatic need didn't happen within the 10 to 15 minutes of the film, and whoever shot it didn't know about the structure of filmmaking. If this was going to be a hero's journey, there's a whole layout on how to go about telling that story, and this took too long. You see, you got the dudes running around the pole, right? And they make it say, and this came out through Lionsgate, how he became a legend, right? All right, so let's break this down real quick, right? Not believable at all. Cinematography is a 7. It's very pedestrian, right?
A 7.
Yeah,
that's good.
I'm getting because of the fact that they did have to come back with the light. Like when you watch it, you see the sun. They're using natural light to shoot it, and they're using they're not even using reflectors. They're using natural light, and at night they're using 500 watt to 1,000 watt lamps, right? 250 lumen. I can look at it and tell, right? So cinematography with the lighting and everything, and the movement of the camera, I give it a 7. Storyline through line is a 2. It's too slow. Character arc, he hadn't got there yet by the time we stopped it. That was a 2. Acting, emoting skill. For what the actors had, because they have some named actors in this, for what they had to deal with, I give them a 7, right? Wardrobe, it was Western, but it looks, the way it looks as if they found something from the Army Navy store to try to look like it was Western. I give that a 2. The locations, I have to give them credit for being creative on locations.
Yeah,
they used some of those cabins. Know those cabins in Ohio where they used to take us on the tour and they would show you the old homesteads and the cabins are still standing. They use some of those reserved, what they call reserved lands,
like some of the ones we saw here
in the park, right?
Yeah.
They use some of those to represent like outposts. So I have to give it, and you can see it in the film, so that they're preserved, right? So I give that a 10. Story beats, 0. Believability is a 0. Historical facts, 0. Hell on the board. What would you give Hell on the board?
First of all, it just took forever. I don't know if it was the first 45 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever for me. It just dragged. It didn't pick up. Right? So, I mean, I would, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't happy with the film at all.
So what would you give it?
So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, and you know, I would have to be awfully bored to try to watch it again. So, you know, I would hate to say a 0, but let's go with a 3.
A 3. You said a 3. Hey, I did mean average from off of the score I came up with, and Hell on the Border gets a 3.33333333. So it's a 3.33. You know, a little dash above the 3 to say that it's 3 3s, but you cut it off, so it's 3.33. That's what I gave it. So you gave it a 3. I gave it a 3.33. Through mean average, right? So this is a interesting piece of, in our opinion, waste of celluloid, as we say. It's no longer celluloid, but you know how we do it.